Jake here in the Steyr Waffenträger with my wife platooned up. She was actually streaming at the time, and we found ourselves top tier on the Prokhorovka map. Perfect for a light tank and tank destroyer combo, as she is in her Amex 1357, and that is the Grand Finals version, whereas I'm in one of my favorite tier 7s, the Steyr Waffenträger. Now, not much need to introduce the Steyr on this channel. It's quite simply a almost nearly unarmored tank destroyer with a fully rotating turret and the long 88. And as you can see, I always carry far more AP than APCR. I will end up firing the APCR, not because I want to, but because I ran out of AP, so spoiler alert. My wife, however, she has actually gotten into a good position early, doing some good light tank spotting, and we've seen at least 2 of their lights are going to contest over here. Now during the stream I actually went ahead and told her that she really needed to be far more worried about the WZ because the AMD is so blind. But she's doing good spotting. She's far enough ahead that I can actually safely fire and not have to worry about being spotted in return. The AMD, I love that little thing, but the AMD 178B, the reason why I told her she didn't need to worry about it is even maxed out with a good crew, it struggles to reach 300 meters of view range. And that's bad. Really bad. Like, she'll outspot it by well over 100, maybe 150 meters. The WZ, on the other hand, is on par with her AMX. She just has a slight camouflage advantage. And it looks like I have been blind firing the Super Hellcat the whole time while taking speculative shots at the Jagdpanther. And here's where I would comment. Don't worry about your hit rate. You'll never hit a shot that you don't take. And it's fine to miss shots. This is where World of Warships actually has it better with unlimited ammo. Because I understand the realism is that you cannot carry unlimited ammo on a tank, no matter how big it might be. It will run out. But it would be nice just to have, say, AP and HE and unlimited amounts. That'd be nice. Because here, this game will, as you see, I started out with 32 AP rounds. I'm already down to 19. And we're only a couple minutes in. 2 minutes and 40 seconds to be specific. And I 100% spam shots. I don't withhold, and I don't think you should, unless you're in a vehicle with very limited ammo capacity. The Manticore comes to mind for one. But low percentage chance shots a lot of times will hit when you don't expect them to. So they're worth taking. And the main thing that I would suggest is that for myself here, I probably should drop down to about 10 rounds of premium. And then as soon as I do that, I'll get a tier 9 battle against super heavies, and I'll struggle when I actually need them. Because that's what this is for. I am working towards the 3rd mark on this, and I have found myself getting a lot of tier 9 battles. And while I normally don't fire much premium, I have found myself needing it here and there against some of the newer tier 8 heavies and a lot of the tier 9s. But back to the game, we're seeing an actual coordinated push by the light tanks. All 3 are over here, and all 3 are pushing. And I'm hitting each of them. I've already hit the most important. If we can take out the WC, that's 100% the most critical target. Then the T50-2. Those two have the better view range. The AMD just has superior mobility. But I actually landed a hit on him as well. But if we can get rid of their light tanks, even though we're losing the game currently by kills, we're up ahead by HP. And that's mainly because their light tanks are all very low health. So there's one. Now we need to eliminate the other 2. And then my wife will be a little more free to roam. See, she's gotten spotted, obviously. And I think the T50-2 had made it... She didn't know how she got spotted at the time, but I believe the T50-2 had made it north enough that because she was sitting behind the bush, he actually got sight on the backside of her tank. And this Wolverine is being crazy. Yes, they have control of the hill, and yes, they have pretty good control of the middle. And that's probably why he felt a little more brave there. We have a little bit of a lull right here. And there isn't really anything too tactical for me to do right now. Especially with her on the other side of the map. I now have the highest view range on this side. And I'm in a very good position for it. I'm up high and elevated, and a lot of people don't think that matters, but it does. Because this position and others like it, if you're elevated above, a lot of times you will spot enemies through breaks in their cover. If somebody's pushing up through this, all the shrubbery here along the western road, my position up here, if they accidentally pop out a little too far to the side or there's a gap, because I'm up high, my view range will allow me to spot through and get that. And now she spotted the SU-122 at the back, and yet another hilarious vehicle. Double barrel howitzers. Now this thing actually poses a major threat. Not just a threat, a major one to both her and I. Because she's in a light tank, and I have no armor. So the SU-122 has to be dealt with. But here we go with the T-3485M first. Now, the enemy team has completely and entirely won the eastern side of the map. And she was telling me that at the time, and I actually responded with, it doesn't matter. The east is useless. Which, if you play this map, the east is 100% useless. The only way it can be used is if your team tries to contest it and loses all their tanks. Losing your vehicles is the biggest way to lose this map here. The west is key. The middle is key. The east, the only thing you can do to lose the game over there is to try to put too many tanks and they don't perform very well, and then you are down too big of a deficit to overcome when you actually try to make a last stand. Now she took a little bit of a risk, but she actually got the kill there on the 122. We were going to try to work together and coordinate and me take the hit if I needed, because I do have 800 hit points compared to her half health. But he did not get a full penetration on the HE, so we're still both going, and now we still have our top tier light tank, and they just lost theirs. So now this game's pretty in hand, even though things look like they're a little iffy, because this western position is key for either base. You have wide open ground to cover and you're easy to spot. But one thing that happens here is that we end up finding out, my wife mentions to me, you see her in the center of the map. She's went from this to more like this. And I just now realized it. I can't get to her. And unfortunately, it's just going to have the suffering of being on your head, unable to do anything until you go kablooey. But I do manage to snag the T1 Heavy, which leaves the Jagdpanther, and there she goes, but the Jagdpanther and the 2 artillery. Now, I respect the Jagdpanther greatly. It's one of the best tier 7s in the game. I mean, of any type, because it has enough mobility to be played kind of like a turretless medium, has enough armor to mount some shots, it has enough view range to self-spot. It's just a good vehicle, and on top of the fact that it has 2 very effective damaging weapons. So I'm not going to take it for granted, but he rolls up close to me. He has so much cover between us, but he still does spot me through it. So I do get him. Now the problem with the Steyr is, of course, artillery absolutely obliterates it. But no shots. If it had been the enemy artillery, if they'd been paying attention, they should have been leading where the Ag Panther was driving. And they should have had some pre-aiming going on right there. And I should have had at least 2 shots come down right on me. They didn't, so I survived, which tells me if they didn't shoot at me, and I was in the position where their teammate was going to be, if they didn't shoot at me, that means they're in a position not to shoot. Now, one is the Bishop. He has short range. He has the very high arcing shells that can shoot over buildings, but they have very short range. So he could be out of position to not have shots. But the M44, there's no excuse for that. He can fire from one corner of the map to the other. So that means he was probably driving. And that's what you need to do to pay attention to your situation. Situational awareness 101. And sure enough, I was right. I drove over here because I was thinking, okay, they're probably driving, and they're probably going to try to cap. Well, I have to still be careful of the Bishop. That's why I got moving. I can't just sit there and proxy the M44. And then I also have to zig and zag and hug the train for cover because he knew where I was. He could have taken a blind shot. So I know where the M44 is. So do my teammates. The KB2 is, if you're watching the minimap, the KB2 is trundling down towards where I spotted the M44. And now I spotted the Bishop. Not that I necessarily wanted to. I already knew where he was. Because now the M44 is probably aiming in on me. But yet again, he's no shot. Which tells me he was repositioning again. Because he should have fired right there. So now I have to shoot. And this is where I should have been firing HE. I've ran out of AP. And now I'm firing premium. This is me paying more attention to finishing the game rather than my ammo. Now the Bishop, I probably would be stuck firing APCR in this situation because he does have enough armor. As you see there, some wild bounce, and great, now I've got to waste another APCR shot. But again, I should be firing HE on the M44. And I miss out on the top gun to the KB2. Turns out that's the only shot he landed all game. And I lost my top gun to him. But looking at this, we got the ace along with a high caliber, which of course this is a pretty heavy damage game for the Steyr, with over 4,500 damage and the number of kills. It was guaranteed to be ace pretty much. You always end up doing a lot of sniping. You have to with any of these tank destroyers that are basically armored with tissue paper. But I did end up with pretty high base experience, even considering the fact that I sniped and was top tier, which is your worst XP case scenario. My wife also had a pretty solid game herself with over 1,000 base experience. She did some great spotting and allowed me to deal the damage. But I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching.